Anyways, it's been accepted before. It has. To have that space, it's just not quite the same as somebody else. To have that separate thing, because they make you uncomfortable. It's acceptable to people. They don't have to deal with being uncomfortable. So, make no mistake, it will be accepted again. And it'll be another fight to get that changed. And there's another possible version of this one. Actually, there's a couple others. I should say one of them before I get into this one. One of the possibilities is that employers will say that if you look, you dress like a girl, even if you have a mustache or whatever, you go use the girls' room. And a lot of people will say, well, that makes me uncomfortable, so why don't they go and get a room that's across the street and down the way? You get the point. The other version of this is the employer could just say that if you shake, you use the men's room. And by that I mean, if you have a penis, you use the men's room. That's also the sort of thing that will seem very reasonable to many people who are cis. Indeed, it will seem like a perfectly reasonable request to a lot of people, unless, of course, they are the sort that you see sitting in front of you right now. That particular kind of rule, where if you have a penis, you have to go and use the men's room, they're talking about me when they talk about these rules. I want you to remember that. Okay, they're talking about me personally when they talk about this stuff. Okay? Here I am. They're talking about a law that has a personal effect on me personally. I have to live with this law. You all have to live with it too, but you know what I'm saying, okay? I mean, I'm a personal example of the kind of person this law affects and is talking about in this sense. I'm the person they're making exceptions for. I'm still trying to figure out why they need to make an exception for me to use the women's room, but that's kind of what we're getting onto here. So, that kind of rule, where if you have a penis, you have to use the men's room, would have me going to the men's room. Yep, it's true. I'm sorry. I do. I can show it to you, but I'd never live that down. Ever. Now let's say that now let's say that happens at a place where I'm employed. I'm an out activist, so odds are pretty good that the people I work with will at least have some idea that I'm trans and that what's going on with me, even though I don't generally discuss my medical history with other people. So following the law, as some are kind of hinting about it reading, an employer could comply without risk of being sued for discrimination on the basis of gender expression or identity by telling me to use the men's restroom. Yeah, that's what they're saying, that would not be discrimination on the basis of expression or identity. Okay? Me. The person who earlier tonight went down to Walgreens, which is a short 5-minute walk away from here, and a 5-minute walk back, dressed and looking exactly as you see me now, with cat calls, honking, and even an offer to give me a ride to wherever it was I was going. Yeah, could have made $500 here. Anyways, I had this to do, so I won't down. I think I can live with that one. It's important to recognize that as well. People usually because usually people think of some kind of stereotype when they think about these things, and I'm actually pretty close to a particular stereotype for trans people. I'm high femme, and often it's said that people like me, and that people like me are liked because somehow we are more feminine than other women. I have no idea what I wrote here. It just does not make sense when I'm reading it all. Are more feminine than the other women, except they don't usually say other women, they say regal in place of other. I pop my boobs out right now, but I'd never live it down, so you kind of have to deal with this kind of look. Now let's really look at that for a second. Okay, I mean, seriously. I'm not joking. Let's serious. Put on the serious face. The idea of me going into the men's room, I'd saunter on in, and most likely be stopped or told to leave by several guys who would either be literally dribbling all over themselves or embarrassed and trying to cover it up. I have some experience with that on both sides. plus the inevitable one who would say something stupid and wave his winky at me. I'd probably hear about my breasts, probably hear one or two muttered faggots now and then I'd likely have to deal with a few people who actually would try to sneak a photo to share later online, the chick with a dick, by sliding phones under the stall or peeking through the door and so forth. I mean, those are all reasonable things to ask any woman who's lived in a place that has a lot of weird people in it, and at some point or other we've heard of that, or it's been talked about on the news, or, I mean, that stuff happens. It does. Okay? And while it would be nice to think that it's just the young ones who do that, I'm afraid it isn't. The older ones do it as well. Now, to be fair, there would also be the few who would just ignore it all and pretend like nothing is happening. And then there would be the occasional one who would tell the others to stop being assholes, and maybe even one who would guard my modesty. Would stand up and go away, that sort of thing going on. It'd be fun. Now, that wouldn't really end there either. Okay? Outside the bathroom, there'd be conversation, jokes, comments, sly glances and grins, and the assorted other stuff that happens anytime people who are uncomfortable about one thing get together and talk about the thing that makes them uncomfortable in their midst. Of course, this is always out of sight of the boss, who would be utterly innocent of all possible stuff except for the fact that he's let it go on. And it might not even be a he. But odds are it would be a he. I'm sorry. Just statistically speaking, it's more likely to be a he than a she. And then there's me. The sort of gal who does a pretty damn good job at her work, and who also has, shall we say, a certain level of ability in making her thoughts and displeasure known, even in the face of people who will use social power dynamics against her. In other words, I'm a bitch. Isn't that awesome? I thought so. And hey, that's me. I'm just that kind of girl. What do you think I'm going to do what do you think I'm going to do in an environment like that? Especially given I've got medical costs to pay for and large sums of money. Why, I know. I'll sue for a hostile work environment. Of course. Completely separate from all the provisions of ENDA. And with the ability to actually get damages, since ENDA does not allow one to sue for damages, as in a lot of money, given court costs and legal expenses, probably something in the neighborhood of $500,000. I say, yeah, I want to sue for $500,000. I'm pretty damn sure I can get an attorney to take on that kind of case. Really. I mean, this stuff I'm talking about has actually already happened several times. And so there's a lot of precedent for all of those things being part of the hostile work environment. Scary. So make no mistake, the stuff I described actually is a hostile work environment. If you're gay or lesbian or bisexual, or something like that, and people are making jokes and snide comments and nasty stuff, there's days when it just doesn't seem right. That's a hostile work environment. Makes your life work harder. That room that's separate, that might be a broom closet with a bucket, okay, that's a hostile work environment. I'm sorry, but there's no need for me to take an hour to go potty. Not when there's a bathroom right down the hall here that I can get to 2-3 minutes, use real quick, and get out. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. There's some things that are stupid there. Now, a lot of trans people are arguing that we need to see the language that is being talked about. We do. I'm sorry. I mean, ENDA could be bad for us and all the other stuff that they're saying, and I happen to be among those people. But I'm kind of starting to change my mind about that, because the more I think about it, the more potential I see in such a wonderful thing happening. That is, my suing a company for a hostile work environment and getting the money I need to pay for my medical stuff. And therefore, the more I like it.